All right, so the population of California was approximately 30 million in 1990, 34 million in 2000, and 37 million in 2010. Construct a model for this data by finding a quadratic equation whose graph passes through the points 0, 30, and 1034 and 2037. Use this model to estimate the population in 2030. All right, so what we have is we're going to do a quadratic and basically plug in numbers and kind of figure out what we have here. So what do we know? We know 0, 30, we have a 10, 34, and we have a 20, 37. And we want to know in what year? 2030, it is what? Okay. And so quadratic, what does a quadratic look like? Well, that y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And so if we plug in our x's and our y's, we can kind of simplify these. So let's do the first one. 30 equals a times, well, 0 squared is 0, and then plus b times 0 plus c. Well, that's 0, that's 0. So basically that tells us that's equal to c. So c is equal to what? 30. Okay. Now, what if we plug in 34? Okay, well, that's going to be a times, and now we have a 10 squared plus b times 10 plus c. So that gives us, now let's do it below. So 34 equals 100a plus 10b plus c. So that's kind of one piece. That's one piece. And our last one, we have 37 is equal to, now we're going to take a times 20 squared plus b times 20 plus c. And so what does that tell us? Well, 37 equals 400a plus 20b plus c. All right. So now what we can do is we can plug in our c's because we do know the c's. And so since c is 30, we can plug that into the other two equations. And so what do we have? We've got, let's put them over here. Where'd my writing thing go? There it is. So then we have 100a plus 10b plus 30 equals 34. And so if we take that over, 100a plus 10b equals 4. Now, if we do the same thing for the other one, we have 37 equals 400a plus 20b plus 30. So we subtract that over. So it looks like 7 and is equal to 400a plus 20b. Okay, so now we've got two equations and two unknowns. And so the a and b are unknowns, and our constants are this. So if we write it down, this one first and then this one, what we have is we have 100, we have 10, then we have 4. And then we here have 400, and we have 20, and we have 7. So that's what we've done. We've made kind of the matrix doing all this work, taking the 3 points they gave us and plugging them into just a simple quadratic formula and then simplifying until we got down to this. Now what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to take 1/100th of row 1 and make that row 1. And I'm going to also take a minus 4 times row 1 plus row 2, and that's going to be my new row 2. So doing that, so 1/100th of that, that's going to be 1. And that's going to be 1/10. And then that's going to be what? Basically 4 over 100, so 1 over 25. Minus that times 4 plus that 0. So then that's going to be what? Minus 40 plus that, so that's going to be a minus 20. And that's going to be, that's a 4 times that, so it's minus 16, so that's going to be what? Minus 9. Okay. Now I need to get this to be a 1, so I'm going to take a minus 1/20th row 2. That's going to be my new row 2. So now we're going to we went down. Now we're going to kind of go up. So now we have 1/10. Probably better make that a little better there. And a 1/25th. We have a 0, and we have a 1, and then we have a 9/20th. Okay. Now, this is a 10, so we need to take a minus 1/10th row 2 plus row 1, and that's going to be my new row 1. So that's going to be 1, that's going to be 0, That's 0, 1, and 9 over 20. And so now I take that's going to be what? Minus 9 over 200 plus that. So that's going to be just a minus 1 over 200, I think. Okay. So now I says A is equal to minus 1 over 200, and B is equal to 9 over 20. We know C is equal to 30. And so I think probably what we need to do is make these decimals if we want to have it like most items. And so if I take 1 over 200, what is that in decimal format? It says 0.005. 9 divided by 20 is 0.45, and we know that's 30. All right, so what we now need to do is we need to plug that back into this formula, and we're looking for 2030. So we have 2030 is what? Well, now we're going to have y is equal to minus 0.005 times x squared plus 0.45 times x plus our 30. And in 2030, that's going to be what? Well, that's going to be x is equal to 40. And so that's going to be equal to a minus 0.005 times 40 squared plus 0.45 times 40 plus 30. And again, I'm just going to type that into the calculator. So that's going to be a minus 0.005 times 40 squared plus 0.45 times 40 plus 30. And I get 40. And so let's write down 40. And that was going to be in what? That's going to be in millions of people in 2030 in California. Okay. So that's the possible number based on the data that we have here. All right. So that's all I have for this section. So hopefully that will help you.